Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
8:07 on this fourth hour of our 4-hour morning extravaganza. It's O'Connor and Company. It's more than just the fourth hour of our 4-hour show. It's the 20th hour of our 20-hour morning extravaganza for the week. Oof. Patrice Onwuka, think about that.
Happy Friday the 13th.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Coming up in mere moments, we're going to check in with our buddy Matt Foldi. Foldi goes to Jerusalem, and within 12 hours, a military strike is launched against Iran.
Amazing.
Coincidence? We report, you decide.
So he's just been a mild-mannered reporter all this time with a great newsletter, Substack daily, by the way. And
Washington Reporter, yeah. But clearly,
and it turns out he's
Mossad.
Wow.
He's some sort of Netanyahu mole, I think. I don't know. You know what? We'll confront him. We will confront him coming up in just 10 minutes. Meanwhile, speaking of confrontation, Secretary Pete Hegseth was on Capitol Hill yesterday. A couple of days of testimony, actually. This is the process as the Appropriations Committee and regular committees are trying to determine the budgets for next year. This is when all the cabinet secretaries go to Capitol Hill, hat in hand, and say, please make sure you give us the money that we want, which is fine. That's the process. And then in exchange for that, they have to answer questions from elected officials because that's the oversight role that they have. That also means that a lot of these very qualified, very smart, and very accomplished people have to suffer fools. Perfect example, when Congressman Hank Johnson asked a 4-star Marine general that if too many Marines go to the island of Guam, the island might tip. Because remember this.
Yes, I remember that.
This is the kind of thing. And then the poor general's like, we don't anticipate that happening, Congressman. They actually have to pretend like they respect
and not
these
laugh.
rules. Yeah, well, Pete Hegseth was not in the mood to have to defer to some of these idiots. Here's one of them. She calls herself Sarah Jacobs. I'm told she's a rising star in the Democrat Party. She represents Southern California of some sort. I think it's the San Diego area. She basically represents the Democrat base. She is a white liberal woman. Sarah Jacobs wanted to engage in a conversation with the Secretary of Defense over transgender policy in the military. Here's what it sounded like. Cut 30.
Because if it were, you would be keeping these women in. Instead, you are the one injecting culture wars into the military, and it's at the detriment of our military readiness and national security. Now, General Keane, I'd like to turn to you.
So to be clear, these are men who think they're women.
These are women. I'm happy to educate you on
but these are men,
on trans
and so
issues at another
what we've
time.
Identified is that there's mental health issues with that belief system.
I'd like to turn to General
are
Keane
detrimental
now.
to readiness, and that's the determination that we've made and that we stand behind. Gender dysphoria.
And so,
there you go. Did you like now these are women, and I'd be happy to educate you on this. And actually, Secretary Hegseth, if I may, should have said, oh, by all means, let's take this time. Please, I'll give you all the time you want. Educate me on the science of this and how these people are women.
Well, she appears to be a biological woman, so you would think that she would know better, but we know this is the Democratic Party right now. Yeah. I mean, listen, this woman, if she represents the future of the Democratic Party, they are going to die. They're going to die out. They're going to die a painful death because she's just it's incomprehensible how radical they are, and they think it's actual fact and reality.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say, and that's, well, listen, this is where their funding is coming from, and that's why it's so important. All right, and then Eugene Vindman, another freshman congressman representing the 7th District here, Virginia. Aren't you proud of your Congressman Eugene Vindman? He claims that he's been in contact with the mother of one of the pilots engaged in the airstrike on the Houthis back in February. Now, this airstrike is noteworthy because it was the strike that was discussed in real time on the infamous Signal chat that Secretary Hegseth was participant of. he claims that he's heard from the mother of this pilot, who, by the way, came back unscathed. God bless America, thank God. And she wants Hegseth to resign. And so Vindman, thumping his chest, decided to grandstand, and here's how that went.
Do you owe her an apology for your actions? Are you going to be accountable?
It was an incredibly successful mission. Her son did great work.
They did a magnificent
and
job.
Thankfully, the Houthi campaign was successful.
Secretary, I agree with you. Magnificent job. The performance of those pilots and Navy personnel, magnificent. We're talking about what you did and accountability. Are you going to apologize to the mother or not?
I don't apologize for success.
You don't apologize for putting her son's life in danger and for putting the mission in jeopardy. Well, that's really disappointing and not befitting the type of leadership that our troops and families deserve. It's frankly a stunning lack of OPSEC. Privates are trained to do much better than that. It was reckless. And it sounds like that accountability doesn't extend as far as the Secretary of Defense. So I think you should resign. The mother says she wants you gone. And with that, I yield back.
Now, listen, I have great respect for the parent of anybody in our military who does dangerous things. Trust me, I know what it's like. I don't want to in any way sort of have my comments sound like it's a criticism of this mother, if there really is a mother of the pilot of an F-18 that was involved in this strike, because I would like to see more evidence of that, because I've met a lot of the parents of Navy aviators, and to me, this doesn't quite fit the profile that I'm used to meeting and having conversations with. But let me just say, by Congressman, and I use that term loosely, Vindman's perspective here and his logic, we should have the mothers and fathers of each individual member of our military dictate whether the Secretary of Defense should stay in office or not. If that's the case, I think there was maybe overwhelming support for the previous Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, to step down in shame for going AWOL for a couple of weeks without notifying his chain of command. By the way, Congressman Vindman, even a private knows better. They can't go to hospital and get a surgery without telling the person next in line that he needs, and forget about telling, asking permission and getting permission. So the double standard here and the hypocrisy is despicable. But it's Congressman Vindman, so and by the way, Patrice, real fast, he's not even good at this. He was stammering and stumbling and stuttering and reading, and it's like, if you're really going to try to do this thing and make a big deal and grandstand about the mother of a pilot who's outraged that her son was put in danger, do it right. This was pathetic.
He needs to learn from a senator like Senator Spartacus how to do it right.
That's right.
Exactly. I honestly think yesterday's hearing with Pete Hegseth was pretty, boring. They tried their best to take him down, and there's nothing that they could do. I mean, even Vindman's a line of attack, he had to admit that the mission was absolutely successful, right, which at the end of the day means everyone involved, including the secretary, was successful. So why are you bringing it up? I think that backfired perfectly on him.
Vindman never asked for anyone to resign after the withdrawal from Afghanistan that left 13 service members dead, unnecessarily dead. This was a successful mission, and he demands the resignation of the Secretary of Defense because of a group text.
That's liberal logic for you.
Yeah, it is. Meanwhile, his twin brother, Alexander Vindman, he's keeping it classy. Homeland Security put out a tweet about Senator Padilla.
Yes.
And Alexander Vindman just this morning retweeted back to that and said, how about this for disrespect? F off, Secretary Noem. F off, you fascist B word. That's Alexander Vindman, brother of Congressman Vindman.
The left is real classy these days.
They are. What an amazing American family they are.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Matthew Foldi, editor-in-chief of Washington Reporter and a reporter for The Spectator, he flies over to Jerusalem in the capacity of his role as a reporter and editor-in-chief of Washington Reporter. I spoke to him as he was changing planes in Newark. I spoke to him Wednesday night, And I said, Matt, stay out of trouble and don't do anything stupid over there. And for God's sake, don't start a war. 12 hours
you
later.
Those words?
12 hours later, Foldi,
Wow.
what in the hell did you do?
Larry, you got to understand, you're a friend of mine. I couldn't tip you off to what I was actually getting up to over here. That would have kind of ruined the whole surprise.
There you go. So you're Mossad, aren't you? You're fitting the stereotype.
Well, no comments on that. I will say I have slept for about 2 hours since I got here.
Oh, my goodness.
So I don't know. I was thinking about this. I don't know exactly what time zone I'm in right now, but all of this stuff that just went down happened on a very interesting date. Okay, it either happened on June 12th, which would be the anniversary of Ronald Reagan's Tear Down This Wall speech. And, of course,
Wow.
Israel is tearing down these reactors, or on June 13th, which would be 6/13. Now, why is that interesting? There are 613 mitzvot, commandments, in Judaism. So
that's right. Those are the tassels. Those are the tassels the Orthodox wear. Sure.
And this stuff, all of this went down at around 2:40 in the morning Israel time. I know that because that's when my siren went off here in Jerusalem. You know, I'd never been through one of these before. This was my first potential nuclear war rodeo. So just so your listeners get a sense of what everyone is going through in Israel, at least last night, was sirens go off all around the entire country to wake everyone up when after Israel struck these nuclear facilities in Iran. Then everyone in the country has, you don't know how long, a certain number of time to get to a safe zone or to a bomb shelter. So I need contacts. I had my glasses next to my bed, and then I had to find my hotel room key. I didn't really think on my first night in Israel, this is when everything's going to go down. Then I had to stumble into the hallway. I learned, I won't say how, that it's better if you have to choose between putting on pants and shoes, you want to put on shoes because maybe you need to run out, you need to evacuate.
Of course.
Then I got back to my room.
And there could be broken
5
glass
a.m.
and all that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly right. So you want to avoid windows. This is just stuff that is everyday common sense if you live in Israel. You know all of these things, but, I haven't even been here for 24 hours yet, and I've already gotten, a master's degree in how to withstand ballistic missile strikes from the mullahs in Iran, which thus far have been completely unsuccessful.
Oh, well, Matt, first off, prayers are with you to cover you and protect you, keep you safe. First off, number two, this is amazing. I can't wait to read your edition of the Washington Reporter on this. This is absolutely incredible. And number three, of the retaliatory drone attacks that Iran sent, have you seen anything from that? Have you heard? Has there been any damage as a result of those?
Great question. So Iran has thus far, and remember, we are in a literal combat zone right now, so there is plenty of false reports, false alarms, tons of stuff. So everything that I'll say now, I basically quintuply verified. Iran supposedly launched about 100 drone strikes. This is, from our standpoint, sitting in Israel, better than ballistic missiles because drones take hours and hours and hours to arrive. They're much easier to shoot down than ballistic missiles. In Israel, strikes on Iran, the westernmost ballistic missiles on Iran's border were one of their top priorities to take out because those are the ones that can arrive at Israel as quickly as possible. So I spent time this morning sitting in a bomb shelter in my hotel because all of the entire country of Israel was anticipating something to happen. Now, its missile defense system was so successful that, Patrice, to your point, there is no sign of damage anywhere in the entire country of Israel because all of them were shot well in advance. There was not a single siren that went off to warn people that a drone or a ballistic missile was coming. But Iran is obviously continuing to saber rattle. Unfortunately for the Ayatollahs, Israel decapitated most of their leadership last night. Iran has pulled out of these negotiations with America because I don't think they got anyone left to be negotiating. So today is strikingly normal. I've heard reports from Iran that people are scrambling to get groceries. It seems like the Iranian regime has shut off some of the internet access in the country. I'm using perfectly fine Wi-Fi right now. I got great falafel and hummus for lunch today with no problem. Right now in Israel, it's strikingly normal.
Hold on.
How normal before Shabbat.
Did you get shakshuka? Did you have any shakshuka yet?
I had some shakshuka with breakfast.
Nice.
So I'm having like a normal day in Israel right now. It just so happens that most of the meetings that I had planned aren't happening. Go figure, because people are, I guess I'm not top priority for the Israeli military brass today.
We're glad you're safe and normal, God.
Yes.
Thank God. In fact, I wanted you to comment on a story. You are, of course, a Maryland man, a real Maryland man, Matt Foldi.
Oh, my God.
A man named Joseph Amir Khairi Abdallah, described as a Maryland man, of course, in the media, was arrested at the Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School in Rockville. Your alma mater, right?
Yeah, I know a thing or two about that school. And I think something that, I'm not going to assume that this was an illegal immigrant like the other Maryland man. We'll find that out sooner or later. But something that to me is sort of surprising is that my non-Jewish friends have no idea that every Jewish institution in America, for as long as I can remember, my entire lifetime, has had some sort of armed security presence there out of necessity.
Yep.
And JDS, my alma mater, where this guy was pulled over because he was circling the parking lot, refused to get out of the car, and then he had a knife and then injured two of the police officers there. Thank God they were there, right? In Montgomery County, we've talked about this on your show, is one of the deranged liberal enclaves that briefly wanted to remove and did remove school resource officers from public schools before realizing, that's a huge disaster. So whether you look at a synagogue on Saturday or on High Holy Days or a Jewish school or a Jewish community center, unfortunately, because of the deranged anti-Semitism we see in America, the violent form of which basically is exclusively coming from jihadists and from the far left, Jews have to be under armed protection. And I kind of grew up thinking that that was normal, but A, I shouldn't have, and B, it's not normal. Most schools don't need multiple armed security guards to protect them from Maryland men armed with knives circling their parking lots. I hope that we find a lot more out about this quickly. I've already contacted my friends at DHS to try and figure out more about what was going on with this particular situation. But unfortunately, it's not an isolated incident. I was in Poland and Hungary 2 weeks ago, and so I was in Poland, the country home to Auschwitz, guys. I was statistically less likely to be firebombed or gunned down in the street in Poland in 2025 as a Jew than in America last month.
That is a remarkable
a serious problem with
sobering
anti-Semitism right now. And I don't know how we solve it, but I appreciate you guys talking about it.
Matt Foldi, former congressional candidate in Maryland, reporter for Spectator, and, of course, editor-in-chief of Washington Reporter, may or may not be Mossad.
And Maryland man.
Sure. And a Maryland man.
And a Maryland man. Thank you, Matt.
And a volunteer fireman as well. Matt, listen, we're sort of joking in the spirit of both of our ancestors, the Ashkenazi Jews. We like to make jokes. We're good comedians because there's very serious stuff going on in the world, and sometimes you have to take the edge off by laughing. But we are very obviously intently watching the events unfold there. We're glad that you're there. We're glad that you're safe. And we will continue to keep you and all of Israel in our prayers as the weekend unfolds. Stay safe, please, Matt. And really, I wanted you on just so that your mom and dad could hear you and know that you're okay.
You're amazing.
Thanks, Matt.
Talk to you guys soon.
All right, coming up, General Jack Keane on all the major delays updates, as well as the weekend's Army anniversary. Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 8:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 8:37, and every day is a good day for the Chris Plant Show, but today, of all days, with this news cycle, looking forward to Chris Plant coming up in 30 minutes. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice.
Happy Friday the 13th, everybody.
Look at you, P. Mizzy, with the happy Friday the 13th. Joining us right now, 4-star General Jack Keane, retired chairman of the Institute for the Study of War and Fox News senior strategic analyst. I want to talk to you about the 250th anniversary of your branch of the military, the Army, and the big parade tomorrow. But we would be remiss if we didn't tap into your knowledge and expertise with regard to the airstrikes last night conducted by Israel against Iran and their nuclear facilities. Based on what's been reported and confirmed, how would you assess this military strike, General Keane?
Well, looking at it, I think it's quite comprehensive. They conducted 4 waves of 200 fighters at somewhere in excess of 100 targets. They also have the Mossad on the ground conducting covert operations. Mm-hmm. The target sets were 4. One is air defense systems. The Mossad established a drone base inside of Iran to launch drones against a lot of those air defense systems.
General, when you saw that nugget, if I could jump in, when you saw that they had actually set up their own drone base in Iranian territory, do you marvel at that kind of coordination and planning? That doesn't happen overnight. That's really audacious.
Yeah, the other target sets were 7 nuclear sites. Also ballistic missiles, which is a crucial entity for the Israelis. They really are very concerned about the ballistic missiles that can be part of a retaliation. Then the leadership targets. To deal with your question, no, it doesn't surprise me in the least. The Mossad has been operating effectively inside of Iran for years. It's absolutely staggering what they've been able to achieve.
Yeah,
they've taken down a major drone manufacturing factory. They took down another weapons manufacturer a couple of years ago. They actually hit the Natanz site and destroyed a number of centrifuges just a couple of years ago. So the fact that they're back in there, I don't think they ever leave, to be quite frank about it. Mm-hmm. They are really quite effective in what they're able to achieve.
Amazing.
So, General Keane, this weekend, we're going to be celebrating the Army's 250th birthday or anniversary, however you want to put it. And I think there was such a resurgence and reinvigoration of love for our military again. It seems like the recruitment numbers are up. People want to be part of defending our country. What does this anniversary and the fact that President Trump has put together a parade, through Washington, D.C. to celebrate our Army, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think it's really quite significant. All the services made their recruiting objectives in 2024, and they certainly learned from some of the challenges the previous years and what they had to do. They just had to pay a lot more attention to the quality of their recruiters, the messaging to the people writ large, and all the services improved that rather significantly. The Army's already accomplished their recruiting objective, if you can believe it, for this coming year, and they were able to do that in May. The Army put together a plan to have this celebration on the 250th anniversary, prior to the election, and then when they briefed it to White House officials at a lower level, they were very impressed with it, and they said this is something we really want to get behind and help with this celebration. So that's what's unfolded here, and for those who think we shouldn't do this, listen, the United States military doesn't beat its chest very often. We leave that to the Europeans. They got fancy uniforms. They love parades, but we're the organization that does the fighting, not just the United States Army, but all the armed services. So at the 250th mark for the Army who helped establish the country and help form it, I think it's pretty appropriate to get out there and, as an exception, to stick our chest out a little bit and celebrate this anniversary in terms of the 250 years of protecting the country.
You just delivered some news that is never reported. In fact, it's the fact that I follow the news and I didn't know it is something. The fact that this was already planned well before the presidential election, or at least proposed by the military before the presidential election when Joe Biden was the president, because all we're hearing is, this is just an ego trip for Trump and it's for his birthday and he's throwing it for himself, which is really demeaning to the Army, by the way, and diminishes the importance of this occasion. Another thing that's demeaning, General Keane, is that this is being likened to a North Korean military parade. I heard somebody on one of the cable news stations, not the one you work for, of course, saying that this was like our soldiers goose-stepping down the National Mall. I'd love for you to respond to that, if you could, on behalf of the soldiers.
Yeah, that's so insulting, to our soldiers out there. The history of nation is also the history of the United States Armed Forces. And then here we're celebrating the Army's 250th anniversary. And throughout that time frame, our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, have been willingly defending this nation. And to suggest that here we are in an open, independent democracy, and the soldiers represent the values of that democracy. And the fact that we've been so low-key about these things in the past, I think is a reflection of who we are. We're a bit understated. And the fact that it's 250 is certainly ample time to march down Constitution Avenue in front of the American people and represent them in that parade. I mean, these people have got this all upside down because they try to take something that's good and wholesome and politicize it because President Trump happens to be commander-in-chief. And it's just the nonsense we've all been witnessing for some time.
And the father of our country, George Washington, let's not forget he was the father of the American military before he was the father of our country. He knew the importance of a good parade. He would always make sure that he had the biggest, whitest stallion and that his uniform was pristine. It matters. It means something. And we're looking forward to tomorrow's festivities. General Keane, thank you. Happy birthday to the Army. We appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, we appreciate that very much. And thank you for giving us some elevation here. Appreciate it.
It is 8:44.
Making sense of your world.
Thank you for your clear insight.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
This is a major wake-up call.
Making sense of the news.
All right, that's a wrap, Patrice Onwuka, and that's a wrap for this week's O'Connor and Company. Thank you so much for joining us on a very busy news week. It's also a very busy news day, and there will certainly be developments in the Middle East. You're going to want to keep it here all day long to make sure that you're informed and you get the right perspective and analysis and context of what's going on instead of watching the panic attack going on cable news. So we'll be happy to be here for you and make sense of all the news and events. And I'm going to continue talking until Chris Plant jumps in because I don't... Chris Plant show is coming up next. We'll talk to you Monday. Have a great weekend and enjoy the parade. Happy birthday, Army.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington. A Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news.